much. Now, Deputy Mattie McGrath on behalf of the Rural Independent Group.
Taoiseach, I am rising today and asking you, on my own behalf, on behalf of my colleagues in Rural Independence, to please intervene in the situation pertaining to the Garda Síochána, the GRA and their Commissioner. The GRA, as we know, unprecedented vote of 99% of the members voted no confidence in the Commissioner. There was a lot of flurry of activity then, and anxiety and angst. In spite of the fact that your Minister for Justice, Ms McEntee, said she had full confidence in him, and the government had in the Commissioner. So intensive efforts were made last weekend with the GRA members, and senior officials, at Assistant Commissioner level, I believe, to try and resolve this issue of the extra roster being introduced, which the Commissioner said last November he hadn't enough members to reintroduce it. So that was great effort, and there was great hope. And the GRA met the Commissioner yesterday, and he just closed the book on them, dismissed them, any meaningful discussions at all not happening. The fifth roster is coming back in on the 6th of November. And so the GRA meeting in emergency session this morning, and we're facing a crisis. I remember the blue flu in 1998 by the Garda Síochána, and we don't want that again. But the Gardaí have to act. And I and the Rural Independents here, colleagues, have full confidence in the Garda Síochána. But we have no confidence, absolutely none, in a Commissioner who seems to be out of touch, arrogant and not listening to his own senior officers. So we have a dilemma here, Taoiseach. Either you intervene here.
You're making accusations against somebody who's not in the House.
Of course, right, but I'm not accusing me. Unfortunately, I'm stating the fact. When these talks were going on last week, where was he? At the rugby match in France. So he's no interest in his members, we seem to think. I'm pleading with him in Tipperary to give resources to the Gardaí to defend themselves and the public. And goodness knows in Clonmel recently, our community, I want to thank the government, everybody involved, the Gardaí especially, at the tragic incident, the last 4 young lives, and the way they supported the families. And I met him at the Month's Mind of one of the girls last Sunday, and the way they rallied, and those unfortunate Gardaí that came on the scene first. Look, they're our reminders. We saw last week they're reminding us here in this House. They're reminding us all. There's a thin blue line, though, between public order and indeed what the Gardaí stand for, and we must support them. But we must have a Commissioner that supports them, that respects them, and that will listen to them. 99%. So that's an unbelievable, almost unanimous view of the members, rank and file members, who we meet every day and looking after communities and expect them to, and compliment them on their involvement in that drug seizure yesterday. But for them, where would we be? And they're not being respected. Simple as that by the Commissioner. So we have a huge crisis in this Commissioner, and the Minister of Justice just blandly saying, I support him any which way. Efforts were made last week, which we all appealed for. We were hopeful that it would be delayed, the introduction of this roster, until they get more talks and time and respect for negotiations. And he just closed the book on it yesterday. And he could be at the rugby match, and they were trying to sort it out, and this is what happened. So they're meeting today in an emergency meeting. We could have some kind of industrial action. We don't want that. We can't afford that because they're under too much pressure on the ground as it is.
Deputy, I'm loath to comment on any member's contribution, but I think we're being unnecessarily harsh. I know this matter is in the public arena. I know it's being discussed, but I think it's inappropriate for us to personally criticise the Commissioner or any public official in that way. Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy. First of all, at the outset, I want to say that I support the Gardaí and support the work that they're doing, and particularly today want to commend the phenomenal work done by the Gardaí, done by the Defence Forces and also the Revenue Customs Service in interdicting a vessel off Wexford, which may be the biggest interdiction of illegal drugs in Irish history, and that wouldn't have happened without the Gardaí, the Defence Forces, the Revenue Commissioners and indeed international partners. It is an example of the kind of work that they are doing. And I support the Garda Commissioner. The Garda Commissioner was appointed by the government, reappointed by the government, and of course has our support. I think it is worth pointing out that there have been lots of talks and lots of negotiations already on the roster. In fact, the Commissioner has extended the temporary COVID roster 13 times now while seeking a resolution and an agreement on it. And the only way to resolve differences is through talking and through engagement. And if it can't be sorted out bilaterally, and sometimes these things can't be sorted out bilaterally between unions and management, it goes to the WRC or it goes to the Labour Court. And the Gardaí fought very hard for the right to go to the WRC or the right to go to the Labour Court. And I believe that's what should now happen. That is how disputes across the public and private sector are resolved all the time. And it seems to me that that is the logical thing now that should happen. Short, focused talks at the WRC, resulting in an agreement which will then be put to members to ballot. And I believe that's possible in the time frame that's left.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy McGrath.
Taoiseach, I note your concerns, but 99% of the Gardaí don't have confidence in the Commissioner. So they're contacting all of us, every member here. I'm sure your government side as well. It's crazy, I think, situation, Taoiseach, that you're going to give him a blank cheque to this Commissioner. As I said, intense efforts were made by the GRA and senior people in the Department of Justice and Gardaí over the weekend and late last week. And he just rubbished it. Like, the attitude he has to this situation is what's causing the problem. So, I mean, he must sit down and talk, as you said. So does he want to force it to the WRC or elsewhere? I mean, the Gardaí must be supported, and they feel they're not being supported. There was an overwhelming vote by any standards. Everybody knows that. And I'm surprised that more people aren't raising the issue here in this House, because they've been contacted last night and this morning because of this situation. We need the Gardaí. We always support them and want to continue supporting him. But we cannot support the Commissioner if he would not engage meaningfully with his members, and would not show respect, and would not give them the resources to protect themselves and the public. And that's not what's happening. You see it all, you're comfortable-minded by Gardaí. You don't seem to understand what's happening in the country and the cities, the violence and the crime and the attacks on people. And the Gardaí are on the front line always. We must sort this situation out and get the Minister to intervene here or yourself.
But yeah, I think that's a cheap shot. Just like you, we live in our communities, and just like you, we're of our communities, and we know what's happening on the ground. And our constituents talk to us as much as they talk to you, and none of us would be here. We wouldn't have an elected mandate if we weren't in touch with our constituents and the people who vote for us. As is always the case in any disagreement or dispute, there are two sides to every story, and often the truth lies somewhere in between. There is a pathway to a resolution here. The Westminster Town roster, the only actual agreed roster in recent times, comes back into force in November. It's only the end of September. There is plenty of time over the course of the next couple of weeks for all sides to commit to focused dialogue, focused negotiations, ending in a recommendation from the WRC, which can then be put to a vote. That's what I think should happen.
Thank you.